What does justice look like when the system mistakes its own enforcer for a criminal? In the heart of a bustling city, where neon lights flickered against the rain-slicked streets, Officer Daniel Harper, a rookie with a chip on his shoulder, stood at the precinct's front desk. The air was thick with the hum of fluorescent lights and the sharp tang of coffee. It was late, past midnight, and the station buzzed with the chaos of a Friday night. Daniel's eyes were tired, his patience thinner than the threadbare carpet under his boots. He'd seen it all tonight: drunks, thieves, and a few lost souls, but nothing prepared him for the woman who walked through the door. She was tall, her presence commanding despite the damp coat clinging to her frame. Her name was Dr. Amara Ellis, though Daniel didn't know that yet. To him, she was just another face in the crowd, her dark skin and quick stride marking her as suspicious in his overworked mind. She'd come to retrieve her nephew, a teenager caught in a minor scuffle, but Daniel's snap judgment painted her as trouble. "Hands where I can see them," he barked, his voice cutting through the din. Before she could explain, cold steel clicked around her wrists. The precinct fell silent, eyes darting to the scene. Amara's gaze didn't waver. It was steel of its own, sharp and unyielding. "Why am I in cuffs?" she asked, her voice calm, but laced with an edge that made Daniel's gut twist. He didn't answer, leading her to a holding room with a practiced scowl. The paperwork could wait. He needed to assert control. But something about her poise, the way she carried herself like she owned the room, gnawed at him. He shook it off, chalking it up to fatigue. The night dragged on, and Amara sat quietly, her eyes scanning the room as if memorizing every detail. Daniel, meanwhile, rifled through her ID, expecting a rap sheet. What he found stopped him cold. The twist came not from Amara but from Officer Clara Ruiz, a veteran who'd been watching from the shadows. Clara, with her salt and pepper hair and a career's worth of instincts, approached Daniel with a file in hand. "You might want to read this before you dig yourself deeper," she said, her tone dry but urgent. The file was Amara's, Dr. Amara Ellis, director of the DOJ Review Board, the very body tasked with overseeing police conduct nationwide. Daniel's face drained of color. The woman he'd cuffed wasn't just innocent, she held his career in her hands. The room spun as Daniel's arrogance crumbled. He'd profiled her, assumed the worst, and now the consequences stared back at him through the holding room's glass. Amara hadn't raised her voice, hadn't pleaded. She'd waited, knowing the truth would surface. Clara, sensing his panic, leaned in. "She's been reviewing cases like yours for years, kid. You just handed her a front-row seat to your mistakes." The weight of those words crushed him. Amara wasn't just a bystander. She was a force, a woman who'd clawed her way through a system stacked against her to hold it accountable. Daniel uncuffed her, his hands trembling. "Ma'am, you didn't know," he stammered. Amara stood, smoothing her coat, her eyes locking onto his. "You didn't ask," she said, her voice a quiet thunder. She could have destroyed him then, could have filed a report that ended his career. Instead, she chose something harder. "Learn from this," she said, "or you'll see me again." Her nephew was released, and she walked out into the rain, leaving Daniel to grapple with his shame. In the days that followed, Daniel couldn't shake her words. He saw her face in every arrest, every snap decision. Clara, ever the mentor, pushed him to confront his biases, to question the instincts he'd trusted blindly. Amara's mercy didn't erase his mistake, but it gave him a chance to grow. The system wasn't perfect, neither was habit. Change began in moments like these, in the quiet aftermath of a mistake laid bare. Justice, he realized, wasn't just about cuffs or badges. It was about seeing people for who they were, not what he assumed them to be. Amara, back at her office, reviewed cases with the same steady hand. She didn't speak of that night, but it fueled her work. Every file, every reform, was a step toward a system that didn't judge by skin or circumstance. Daniel's name crossed her desk months later, attached to a commendation for community outreach. She smiled faintly. People could change if they chose to. Yindi.